everybody, and welcome to the second installment of Pandemic, Panic, and Presence. Say that 10 times really fast. This is Reading During Difficult Times. This is a three-part talk. The first one we did is being. This week we are doing boundaries, and the next one is going to be business. So welcome. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Jenna. How are you this morning, babe?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
I
Good.
wanted to say I actually really love your peacock earrings. They're really awesome.
Thank you.
So cute.
Yeah, I started that when I did the musical Hair back in the 90s, and ever since then I started wearing peacock feathers.
That's awesome. So, yeah, we're going to talk about boundaries and I don't know, it's just like what's top of mind for you with that, or do you have any stories of things that have happened in the last week that might illustrate that, or that's come up for you? How's it been going?
Well, hey, let's pull a card on that.
Ooh, yeah, let's pull a
Let's
card.
do that. We'll just pull a card. Oh, knocked myself out there. There we go. So I am again using my vintage Amazon Tarot. Vintage being it was from the 60s, a really beautiful collaboration, a black and white deck. And I got, I love this one. It's 10 of Pentacles.
Oh, wow, that is
Isn't
pretty.
she beautiful?
Yeah, yeah.
And I just love her
Ooh.
big face there.
So you got 10 of Pentacles. Wow, for boundaries. That's great.
For boundaries. Well, and it's, really what comes to my mind is that boundaries is really a feeling of abundance. It is like you it's just a feeling of enough. I'm not getting depleted. I'm not taking on too much. I'm full. I'm whole. Because I tell people, like, shame, just know what shame feels like to you. Like, if you might not be able to name it, but you can always feel it. So to me, shame is like, I always feel slimed. It's like just a feeling of, I just got slimed, or I'm doing that to myself. I just slimed myself, it's like, I feel like I need a shower, so, but to me, boundaries is really the opposite of that. It's that feeling of whole and things are flowing and you're not having to juggle. How about you? Did you pick one? What are you still using? What deck are you going to use today?
No, I'm switching up. I am using the Fountain Tarot.
Hello.
I pulled Justice.
I love that, Justice.
Yeah. So for me, well, I mean, obviously that's the balancing of things and making sure that you're in balance, but also making sure that you're being fair to yourself as well as fair to others during this time. I think a lot of times readers, we're all healers to a certain extent, and we often will beat ourselves, like that shame piece. We'll often beat ourselves up over things that we really don't actually have any control over.
Right.
And we feel that we are responsible for things that we're not really responsible for. So I feel like this Justice is that kind of karmic reminder of what is yours to carry and what is not yours to carry.
Absolutely. And just look at that coming right out of her mouth. It's like our words are boundaries, and what we say is magic. I mean, it's just like it's creating the environment.
Completely.
So when we were talking earlier, Jenna, and when we were figuring this out, where I think where you and I really jive together kind of beautifully is the way that we're kind of really similar entrepreneurs. Like, we really take business serious. We really take taxes serious. We really pay attention to being legit, like really being legit businesswomen and running. And So when it comes to boundaries, and we'll do a lot more of that in the third video, but when it comes to boundaries, I think we're probably going to go in and out of the reader and having your own business, because they keep they have to have each other's backs. They just do. You can't be a fabulous reader and kind of a lame business person. Doesn't work. It'll catch up with you after a while. Let's put it that way. But you can be a fabulous business person and a lousy reader. That works, but I don't know if you're going to retain clients. So it's like, how do you do the figure eight? Like, how do you keep both of them? Tell me what is your biggest, just bottom line, tell me like some of the most important boundaries that you just have. Again, we'll talk more about this in the third video, but for now, what are really important business boundaries for you?
Well, the thing that really came to mind when I heard you talking, I've always been really good with boundaries, maybe overly good. I'm like, no. But when I'm in tarot communities, and people are talking that are pro readers that are talking about how these people keep coming back to them every week, or how they've done this and this and this. And it's clear to me that that individual may be getting an ego rush from being the person who's saving this person in some way. And then that completely erases boundaries, and nothing but calamity will come from that. So I think if there is an ego rush, that you're stepping in from this hierarchical kind of structure where you're swooping down to save someone, or to be this guru, for lack of a better word, I think that's a dangerous thing, because it really creates a very muddied relationship. And who I am in session as a reader, I flip into a different mode. It's a different way of being. It's a different way of holding space than who I am outside of that mode. And I think we have to be really careful about understanding what that mode is, who it is. And if we're getting some kind of weird rush around fixing someone's life, we really need to check that at the door, because that's kind of like the gateway drug to your ego.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think the first boundary I want to talk about is like the boundary of your ego. Like, when to check your ego at the door. When is this not about you?
Right.
And how do we keep it client centered and client focused, but at the same time knowing when to shut that off?
Yeah. Just listening to you, I was thinking to myself, you're right, there's a different, I'm channeling when I'm reading. I'm not channeling when I'm setting up the appointment. It's like the business. Although I got to tell you, tarot readers and diviners really miss an opportunity to incorporate, not manipulate, incorporate magic in their marketing, in their business, because a lot of people come to us already seeing us as kind of the holders of some magic they don't have, which I still don't think is true. I think it's practiced. I don't think I have any more than any other. I just play my piano every day. My song better be better, like I'm working it. But God, I just totally spaced what I was going to say. My ego just stepped in and just heard myself. See, and that happens during readings too. I'll just be like going off on something and just go, wow, that's really cool. And like catch myself looking at myself. And then I'm like, then I have to apologize to my client. And I'll even tell them, oh, wait, I just got totally swept up by me. But see, I'm an Aries. So ego is like, everyone says ego like it's a bad thing, like that's, to Aries love ego. I mean, that part of ego that is beautiful, like the baby, like, oh my God, this is great, and this is great, and I'm great, and you're great. And it's like, I mean, that's ego, but in a kind of a beautiful way. I totally got swept up.
You were talking about bringing
marketing.
magic into your business.
Because I've had more than a number of clients say to me, when I heard your name for the third time, I knew I had to come see you. And I'm like, oh my God, diviners have a marketing that no other business has. Like, it is that magic of, I'm being drawn to you. And it's like there's a part of that that's really sweet and naive. And there's another part of that which is like totally genuine and hot, like very powerful. Like, yes, thank you, baby Jesus and goddess and whoever my group. Thank you, for having. But then it made me think with marketing, you need your name in 3 different places. Like, where will people see you, or
Mm-hmm.
hear of you?
Mm-hmm.
So that and I also think that we're not in competition with each other. Like therapists, it's apples and peaches. Who do you need? I will draw the clients that need to hear how I'm going to express something, how I'm going to voice something.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, I'll run into somebody like, wow, how did they get to me? It's not a good mix, but that's all right. Who knows what they walk away with, you know? Um, but I loved what you said, that inside the reading is a very different thing than outside the reading. And that's a real strong boundary in itself. During a reading, I'll even step out of that and for a minute, not just being mesmerized by my own ego, but I'll step out of it also every once in a while and just kind of go, this is not the high priestess. I'm not speaking to you as a reader right now. I'm speaking to you as a woman right now. Or I'm
Yeah.
speaking to you as a citizen right now. Or I'm speaking to you as an activist right now.
Right? Yeah, I do the
So like,
same thing. I'm like, okay, let me put my big sister hat on. And
oh
this is
yeah.
me, like the non-reader me wanting to also step in, if that's okay. And I usually ask permission for that.
Oh, well, that's an
Because
idea. Oh, I think I'll write that one down. All right.
or or I get a lot of people that are building businesses in their own way that isn't the kind of business we have. But I'm like, can I put on my like business coaching hat for a second? Because
Right, right,
that part of me has something she wants to say, and it's not in the tarot.
right. Not seeing it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
So I think you're right. Like ego's not all bad. Like totally, I'm not part of that like ego equals bad kind of quadrant of New Agey thought. But I think it's good to recognize when our ego is being activated and
Right.
to be curious about it so
Yeah,
that we don't run away with it sometimes. I think that's because it's like a toddler, it's like a child. And
it
that
is.
kid's like, ooh, this is flammable. That's fun. And you're like, no, don't put your hand in the fire, kid. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I agree completely with what I'm grokking what you're saying completely.
You know, I received a suggestion that literally, I'm not kidding you, switched my readings in terms of me, just my personal consequences or effects after a reading.
Mm-hmm.
And a teacher told me to like zip my chakras up from the very bottom of my pelvic bone up to the heart chakra. Don't include the heart chakra. So the first 3 chakras are like, no, those are completely zippered up. Energetically, you're not mixing those with your client at all, because the heart chakra is made for expansion. It's made for connection. The other 3 are the core of being of us. And I got to tell you, Jenna, when I started doing that, I actually was able to be more vulnerable, more, because then it was coming from my heart space. And that's resilient. And, our heart chakras are made to connect with each other. They're made to do that. So it's kind of, or sometimes I'll just see green light when I'm grounding with my client to begin with. I'll just see us both in this beautiful spiral of green,
Mm-hmm.
so that I'm coming from a heart-based, I want to be heart smart, like I want to use my words. I want to be able to see patterns. I want to be neutral. I want to be able to see insights that might be helpful. Anything I get, actually, anything. I do tell my students, you cannot censor anything you see. You didn't work that hard to learn tarot, to create a sacred space, to really take this leap, to be a channel, to serve love, to then censor the message that you're getting. It's like, no, no, no. I mean, like, you can figure out 1,000 ways to say something, but you got to say it. If you see it and you sense it, you got to say it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, but I understand why that's so hard, because when you're saying something someone doesn't want to hear, or they're closed to the message, and they're sitting there with their arms crossed, and they're like, like, who can withstand that onslaught, of immediate criticism? And they'll often say things like, oh, that's not true. That's not the case. And deep down that that is a goddamn lie. You know that what you're saying is true, but they're like, block, 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 block. And some people wilt under that kind of pressure. It's tough to be the town crier, isn't it? It's not easy.
Well, do you record your readings?
I do. Mm-hmm.
See, that's a lot of readers don't. They do not record their readings, and don't want them recorded, but I actually feel bad if they don't want their readings recorded, because it's like, wow, I'll tell you, if you listen to this 4 months from now, it's going to be a very different experience. So I always do a reading for somebody, keeping that in mind. It's like, 5 months from now, without my personality all filling the room and them like trying to do, just them really listening to this channel. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a very different experience. So I kind of say, Nance, like, yeah, I know they're saying no now, but like 5 months from now, they're going to go, God, that's what she was talking about. Not that I feel like I have the wisdom they don't, but I have to stay true to what I'm actually seeing in the cards.
That's such a powerful insight. And I want to add to that, because when we're listening to a prediction, right, we're only listening through the filter of the present. So we're going to see everything as context of what we know. So it's like when I do these weekly Fortune Fridays, for example, and people will email me and be like, Jenna, that just didn't resonate with me. And I'm like, resonance with you in the present time does not equal accuracy in the future time. These two things don't connect. But a lot of people see that. Like, if it makes sense, then it's probably true. If it doesn't make sense, then it isn't true. And I think that's a really tough way to educate our clients, that that's not a connection. Right. And then the other thing I want to say is, we tend to be very linear in how we want to understand how a prediction is, when it's not that way at all. Like, for example, if the cards are showing like you're going to meet your love somehow connected to work, they're instantly going to think coworker, or they're instantly going to say, well, there's only women that I work with. But they're not thinking about the larger context of what that means, which means that could be a dude who walks in front of your building every day. That could be the dude who's the brother of a coworker. That could be the dude, you know what I mean? And so we have to make sure that we're not trying to beeline into a category that may actually not be true. And as a reader, we have to tell them when we don't know if it's going to be what they hope or think it is, because that's not what the reading is telling us. Right. And that sometimes is hard to do, right?
Oh my God. Well, let's go there next, in terms of really, let's pull a card about prediction and prophecy, because that's woohoo! Yeah, woo! I'll get my oven mitts on. That's hot. That's hot. And I'm touching my face too, by the way. Because I've been alone or with my husband and son. So, oh my God, what was I just going to say? Oh, there are times when somebody will ask about somebody, right? Now, and I know that's a big thing. Don't read about anyone else, and I'm thinking, okay, I actually do read about other people. I do. I feel like if there's an influence, my client has an influence, any kind of love influence at all on that person, I'm not going to read their state of mind. I'm not going to, go into their business, but the effect they have on that person, hell yeah. Their relationship, Oh, yes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like we can look at that. But I also read about death.
Mm-hmm.
Death is a natural part of nature's cycle. When are you going to die? I don't know. Have I actually seen when people are going to die? Yes, I have. Am I going to see yours? I hope to God not. I don't even know why we would need to go there, because if you're actually living your life, that's the only preparation there is for death. But I read for a lot of older people who are like, Jesus, is my, I don't know what I need to do for my mom. I don't know if I should think long game here or short game. And it's like, yeah, no, I get some information on that.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's part of life. It's part of the nature circle. Why would that part be, off? But it is rare though. It's not common. That's only comes in at certain times. But there are times when people ask me something, and I'll pull the cards, and every once in a while I just pretend like they're a journalist that's trying to debunk tarot. This is the way it keeps me honest, because I will like pull a reading if someone's asking about somebody or something, and I'll just kind of realize, you know what? I'm not feeling any energy about that at all. Like nothing. Nothing. Like I can pull the cards and make up a story, but I'm not feeling it through something. And I'll tell them that. It's like, honest to God, if you didn't say that you had like this ex-lover and by the name of so and so, I would like, I'm not really seeing it. I'm not feeling it. I'm not seeing it. Like, you could be making that up.
I think that's such an important boundary, is knowing when you're not seeing it and not feeling it. And so don't push it, and
Yeah.
don't push it, even though they'll want you to,
Oh my
they
God.
want you to, but you got to be honest, be like, I'm not seeing this, or I'm not feeling this. Maybe we can revisit it later. Um, there was something else that when you were talking about death that I wanted to talk about too, is that we all have a natural negativity bias.
Mhm.
So I'll like have 15 brilliant cards, like the star, 10 of cups, all the good cards. And there'll be one bad card, one little tiny, and then all they'll do is beeline for that one bad card. I'm like, all cards are weighted equally here. This doesn't actually have more natural weight than this, like
Right.
it's not how this works. So I think in terms of readers, like as readers, like how do we communicate in a way where they're hearing what we intend in the way that we intend, rather than really taking off with that natural tendency to look for trouble. Do you know what I mean?
But I think our brain is set up for trouble because we're always trying to figure out. You'll always remember the criticism you have. You very rarely remember all your compliments. So, and I think it's nature's way of us trying to keep developing ourselves. It's like if we see what's okay, I need to keep working on that. Our brain loves shit like that. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, working at the gold mine. It's coal mine. It's like that's our brain. Our heart is like, life's short, kids, let's move on this. But sometimes I'll go deeper into it. If I see someone doing that and they just go right for the negative of something, it's like, okay, yeah, let's go there. Let's pretend your deepest fear happens here. Let's look at that. Let's just go right into that path because you're already playing with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
let's just see where that's going to bring you. And nothing's set in stone. Or the future is, this beautiful myriad of potentials and possibilities. And I think as readers, what we do is like, we're the weathermen. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, pretty sure a tornado might be heading this way, but I don't know. Like, I think we're more accurate than most weathermen if you're really good, and we certainly don't get paid as well as they do.
I
That's
know.
what I tell people. Clients will actually ask me, which I kind of think is kind of sweet in a way. They'll say, "Are you accurate?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, who in their world would say no?
I tell
Like,
them that when I get that question, I'm like, do you think I would say I'm not accurate?
my line now is I'm more accurate than a weatherman and get paid, a smidgen of what they get paid.
And I think that question really comes from a perspective of how they think prediction works versus how we know prediction works.
Oh, yeah.
So, right? So, are you accurate is coming from that assumption of, are you going to tell me that future event and is it going to come true? When we think of prediction as this is accurate as a moment in time that's captured, and as you have your free will moving through it, these things are going to shift, and then the reading is going to shift along with you, which is why we have a recording. So you can go back and go, oh, it is totally opened up in this like multidimensional way that I completely didn't understand at the time. So they're asking a very two-dimensional question. Is this accurate? Is this black? Is this white? And we're like, no, dude, put these 3D glasses on because we've got a whole other thing of depth to show you. And I think that's that difference between popular culture of what we do and then like what we really do. You know what I mean?
Go ahead and pull a card on prediction, just what we need. Which, by the way, I didn't mention my beautiful painting in the back is by my good friend Julia Cuccia Watts. Isn't that gorgeous? I bring her to North Star every year. We have North Star Tarot Conference in Minnesota so that we don't go crazy during the winter. And thank God we did that this February. That was right before all this happened. But she's my star. Actually, I think she's the high priestess, actually, but that's Newt.
That is Newt. I pulled Newt in my Dark Goddess Tarot, I think 2 weeks ago.
Oh, God, I love Newt.
So what'd you pull, Nancy?
I got the priestess.
Of course you did.
And she's the Hierophant. This is the first, not the first. I've seen a couple female feminine Hierophants, but very rarely. And that's what I love about her and her horns up there. So when it comes to prediction, it is then you're entering prediction can only come for me from a place where all time is at the same time. So the past, the present, and the future are together. And so it's like you're just kind of being in that channel. And unlike the high priestess who holds the scroll and, you come and she will be able to give you pretty much what your little peeny brain can kind of wrap itself around. The Hierophant is just, to me, is just that it's an entering an entire system of time and time being, and I honestly, I feel like the past is as fluid as the future. And I do a lot of work of people going back into their past and kind of talking to themselves at very certain pivotal, painful points in their life and changing. They'll go in and I'll tell them, go to that moment before such and such happened. Tell that little being what's going to happen. Tell that little being they're doing the best they can. Oh my God. And it's like, but you're the future, you're from their future, and that this will not destroy your life, that you have this, you have this, you have this. Again, always going back to gratefulness, which is a cornerstone of spirituality. It's a corner of being grateful no matter what, no matter what. And then after you tell them, and then the memory, then put a new light in the room, or the environment. Make sure that you change the light so that that little being that's still stuck in the past, that part of you that's still stuck in the past, is going to sooner or later realize, wait, I think the light is changing in here. It's just, how do you change the energy of the past? To me, is with light, with color, with compassion. How do you change your future is be your future self. A lot of people, I'll bring them to the day before they die and then look back to just this moment, not to the past, just who you are at this moment to who they are and what can happen in between there, what needs to happen in between there. So it's like go to your future self. I think we get so stuck sometimes at base camp getting ready for Mount Everest. It's like just fucking go to Mount Everest, and look back and kind of go, okay, yeah, you're carrying a big load there. You might want to cut the rope on that one, or you might, like it's a different perspective for us to be in different timelines, which with this quarantine, our timeline is so interesting right now. Man, I've never, the last time I felt time like this, and not just the amount of hours that we actually have and we're not working or doing what we normally do. Even beside that, there's a timeline with this that is so delicious. It's sexy good. It's just like, what is that? And I think it's Earth. I mean, I think she's happy. I think she's just like, get out of my sky, get out of my waters, get off of that, stop fracking me, just like, nah, and it's just bringing this sense of time that I kind of used to have when I was like 6. Mm-hmm. And I remember laying in a sidewalk in my backyard, and I just laid on this sidewalk and I felt like Earth just like swallowed me. And I was there for hours. My mom was like, something's wrong with that kid, but it was like, it was heaven. It was heaven just to feel no separation. So prediction, I don't know. It's kind of sad how a lot of readers, it's a big thing in the readers community. It just, don't prophesize. I don't predict. I don't do this. I don't do that. I'm not intuitive. I'm not psychic. I'm in this and I am that. And this is safe and black and white. And here you go. And, and it's just like, shut the fuck up and just open yourself up to a spiral of mystery that we don't know will bring us where, like, it's like,
well, yeah, well, I think a lot of that is what's below that is I'm afraid of being wrong and I'm afraid of disappointing somebody. And the fact of the matter is that no matter what job you have, even if you're a freaking bricklayer,
right,
you're going to disappoint somebody and you're going to be wrong. That's just the nature of being human.
Right.
So I think that fear gets in that way of that intuition being able to come open. Right. I want to come back to what you said about time because, I 1,000% agree with you. And that's why I was so keen on doing the reading do a reading about a future you, because that future you is also turning. So, if we're looking at tarot to look at predictive states, why are then we only looking at tarot to talk about past lives? It can talk about future lives, and we can do readings where we're inviting that future person in to talk to us now and possibly help cut karmic load as a result of like what still carried forward, what could you maybe mitigate in this lifetime. I think it's powerful work. And tarot, which is so cool about tarot, that's why I love it so much. The tarot is only limited by our imagination about how we work it.
Totally.
It's like, it's incredible when you're like, oh, I have this new idea. And tarot goes, I can do that. And then you're like, well, what about this? Tarot goes, I can do that too. And you're just like, this is incredible. What is going on?
It's the best rocket ship in the world.
Right. Right. So when people say, are you accurate? They're only seeing tarot as, is this a hammer that strikes down a nail? And my answer is honey, this is like an army Swiss knife of everything. It's not just a hammer. It is the little thing that cleans out your nails, and it's a little thing that open your wine, and it's another thing that does this other thing, right?
Wow.
And so to me, it's like, how do we as readers, right, with that boundaries piece, the theme
Hmm.
for today, I got to remember where, I was like, we could just take off with this conversation.
We already did.
Yeah, I know. An Aries and a Gemini walk into a bar. It's just like, ah!
Ah!
But as readers, where do we feel like, where can we meet people where they are? But
Yeah.
also, if where they are feels like that's not the truth of the thing, instead of going down to meet them because that's comfortable and safe and makes them happy, how do we pull them up with education, with the way that we read? Because I got to tell you, I have so many clients come to me and they say, I want to know about me and this person, right? I've been to 3 other psychics or 5 other psychics, and they've all told me that that person is my soulmate, twin flame, whatever, whatever. And I'm like, I'm usually the grim reaper of that shit, because I don't tell you things to make you happy. And I tell them that front off. I said, I have no skin in this game, and I'm not going to make you happy telling you what you want to hear so you'll come back. Let's just get that right off the table. But if I do see something good, you know that I'm not bullshitting you. Like, I'm really seeing something good. And I have tons of clients that say, Jenna, when I first came to see you, you handed my butt to me and I didn't like you. I was mad at you. But then I saw that you were right. And when I kept coming back, things really shifted and became very positive. And I'm like, that's true, because most clients come to us when they are in an emergency, an emotional emergency situation.
Right.
Right? So it's either the thing that they know is going to happen, they don't want it to happen, and they're grasping at last straws, hoping that that is not what they have to encounter. And a lot of readers, not a lot of readers, some readers will monetize that desperation. And
Yeah.
I'm actually seeing that in the New Age community right now, which is pissing me off to no end. People capitalizing on the fear of the coronavirus as a way to get people in their doors. Like, I shouldn't be surprised, but
Like,
it's
so what are you seeing? Because I'm kind of avoiding that. Like I'm just I'm not really listening to other diviners right now, to be honest with you, because I was
um
kind of worried about that happening. So what?
yeah, well, just, whenever you do marketing where the first foot of the marketing is to start off with a fear, then we're getting into manipulative marketing. That's scarcity style marketing. So it's like, are you scared of the coronavirus? Come get a reading and we'll see how everything goes. Like, that doesn't
Right.
feel good. Do you feel anxiety? Well, here's my 3-step system for blah, blah, blah. And I feel like that can be very,
Yeah.
that doesn't strike well with me.
Yep.
And then other people that are like, well, since you're out of work, maybe this is the time that you should be doing ABC.
Right.
It doesn't feel good. And
Right.
and these people are vulnerable.
And I saw just the other day. I saw an ad for Martha Beck, who is a really well-known
Mm-hmm.
coach, teacher. And the title was Practical Wayfaring, I think. I think it's like wayfaring. And I just love that. I was just like, wow, that's just beautiful. It's just a call. Like, how are you, not only how are you calling people to your work? How are you calling people to the work? And during this, there is going to be a lot of death. Jenna, we're going into this next week. I mean, I know people may be watching this video years from now. I don't plan on taking it off YouTube, so unless it disappears. But knowing right now we're at right before New York hits its worst, and that's only the first city. So it's kind of like, oh my God, this is really going to be crunch time. April and May, I think, are going to be pretty bad. And so, I, to be honest with you, I'm not pushing readings too much right now. I'm not. I have my regular clients that are checking in with me. I just trust the money will be there when I need it. Uh, all of us kind of, I'm holding space in a bigger way. Like and I'm holding space for me, which I really need right now. I was going to say, one of the bigger things about boundaries for me is knowing that you are not responsible for what people do with the information you give them. You're not responsible. And that's one reason I don't read for anyone in my family, because that I read once for a family member, and that reading got so twisted and so turned by their definition and how they interpreted it, and they keep throwing it into my face every 3 or 4 years about how wrong I was. And it was like, first of all, that's not what I said. I wish to hell we had recorded it. And holy shit, I'm never going to read for a family member again, because it's a different dynamic can happen with, your blood.
Yeah.
I do say, to people that I teach tarot, is like, hey, do yourself a really big favor and don't read your kids. Don't don't or if you do read them, anything you see is just your stuff, and you keep it and zip it, sister, because like that's none of your bit. Really, you shouldn't be doing that. That's
I am,
boundary. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you. I don't read for family or close friends. And over the years, I've had a lot of clients say, Jenna, we really vibe. I'd like to be a friend. Let's hang out. Let's do happy hour. Let's do this or that. And then that's the point where I have this conversation with them. And this is a conversation born out of like hard lessons, which is you can either be my client or you can be my friend. You cannot be both. So if you want to become friend zone, then we can be friends. But then that means I cannot be your reader. I will refer you to other people. You know what, Nancy? I've probably had that speech maybe 15 to 20 times in my career. I've had only one person make the option to be the friend. Doesn't that tell you something?
Yeah.
Which means that their offer of friendship often isn't, they don't really know who we are. They know us as readers.
Right.
And that's beautiful and perfect. And that doesn't mean that that's fake. That is a facet of us. And that's the person that they grok with. But when we try to become both, it stops working because it just doesn't work really well. And so I think when I hear a lot of pro readers talking about client slash friendships, again, I'm like, are we getting into enabling mode? Are we getting into codependency mode? Like, how much entanglement is happening here? Because I think that subjectivity gets in the way of our most powerful readings.
Yeah.
And if I'm objective, or I'm like, I care about you, but you're not like my sister, and I feel freer in being able to be objective and tell you what's here. There's nothing getting in my way too. Have you had that with friends and clients or anything like that?
I've had some skirmishes with that.
Skirmishes. That's a good word.
It didn't work too well. But I also lately, and uh, really seriously, the older I get, I really do think this might have to do with age, is opening up to people to let not a lot of people, if I'm really called to certain people, because I will get that too. People literally just say, I just want to have coffee with you. I just want to be your friend. I just want, and I first of all kind of go, oh my God, do you have any idea how much I neglect the friends that I already have? Like that's the first thing that I think of is like, oh, take a number. But I love meeting people. So I like just, and then I don't really do the quality time with people the way I really want to, which I want to come out of this quarantine really feeling like I'm doing Six of Pentacles really well, like just that reciprocity. I just really want. Now, some people don't see Six of Pentacles as reciprocity. It's like that's this person giving, but it's like, no, I'll know when I'm the giver and I know when I'm the taker.
Well,
To me, that's the
yeah.
reciprocity. It's
Well,
sometimes
yeah.
I'm kneeling, sometimes I'm giving,
Mm-hmm.
and so I will actually let people in on that window of, okay, let's be friends, but you will see me, I'm going to probably, that beautiful veil that you had on me is going to come off.
Yeah. I've also found people that wanted to be friends. Oftentimes that was just a cover for I want free readings, or like I want a reader in my pocket that I don't have to adhere to the boundaries.
Right.
And sometimes I've noticed that also with like sometimes long-term clients who we get very comfortable with each other. There's some people I've carried for a long time and I love them deeply. But then after a while, and I do this too, like you don't feel like the rules really apply to you anymore because, we're cool, right? Like, oh, well, I can just totally step in on my hairdresser. We're cool like that, and it's like, but that's not how this can work. In order for us to not burn out, in order for us to maintain that when we are in that space, we are committed, we are present, we are open, we are
Yeah.
in flow. I just feel for me, and maybe this is my Gemini nature, but I'm either in it or I'm out it. I'm not both, and I can't do both very well. I'm either that twin or that twin. Um,
Right.
and that is how it's been successful for me, because then all of that entanglement, I don't get lost in the weeds of it,
Right.
Um, so, but yeah,
Right now, Jenna, right now, how many people would you say if they, and you may not have anyone in your life like this, but if they wrote to you, friend, family, client, everyone, anyone can be in this group. If they wrote to you and just said, Jenna, could you just pull a couple cards for me on that one? How many people do you do that for, if any?
a very, very small number,
How many?
like 3
Me
people.
too. Me too.
Really? I'm good. I'm glad. I'm so relieved to hear that.
3. That's it.
Wow.
And I'll do the same with them.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say, hey, not cards, actually. My one friend's an astrologer. So I'll just say, hey, what the fuck, man? What is going on with my Saturn right now? It's just like, and he'll throw a couple at me, so it's kind of, and it's very rare, isn't it? Those are really interesting relationships but it's totally reciprocal. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm, again, boundaries, going back to that 10 of Pentacles for me, is when you don't question it, then I think you have healthy boundaries. When you're questioning it, you probably need to shape up your boundaries somehow.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's specifically hard for readers as a type, because I think that there's a type to being intuitive and a type to being a healer, where we want to get snuggle in, we want to engage, we want to
Right.
be part of. So to be a reader as a business person means to straddle 2 very different ways of being in the world and somehow hold them together,
Yeah.
which was the justice card, right? That I pulled. So it's definitely a delicate balancing act for
Do,
sure.
do you know what I think is an interesting boundary that I just love? I love it. I
Mm.
love every time this happens. When is how I describe myself. Like if people say, if I haven't met them before, if they ask me, what do I do? And it depends on what mood I'm in that day, but it also depends on the kind of weird, just the tone I'm getting from them.
Mhm.
If I'm really kind of in your face, I'll just say I'm a tarot reader. Because otherwise I'll say I'm a creative advocate.
Mhm.
I'm a creative consultant. A lot of people don't ask a lot of questions about that. And it's like, cool, let's leave it at that. But if I feel like there's a real and who are you? And it's like, and I'm a tarot reader. And one of the first things a lot of people will say is, "Oh, don't read for me," and I'm like, "Oh,
Don't
really?"
worry, I'm not. Don't worry, I'm
And,
not.
I'll say, "Honey, I got a 3-week waiting list, so if you wanted a reading,
Mhm.
you'd have to book it." And it's like, "Oh my God, I am not dying to read cards for you." It just it's so weird. It's so needy. It's like they just put tarot readers in this whole group of, I just want to love you and I have the wisdom and the moon shadow going through me. Please let me read for you. And it's just like, oh, girlfriend, take a couple steps back here, because and that's one reason I do not offer refunds. I don't. You're not paying me for that reading I'm giving you. You're paying me for my time,
Mhm.
because I just spent, oh, I don't know, 35 years getting to that place for you. So it's worth. I have done a couple refunds with people that are just crazy, really. I mean, really, you don't, it's like, good. I'll pay you to leave me.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah. I've
it's just
done
like,
I've done refunds as like because I know to not would bloom into a kind of damage control that I just don't want to deal with. So I'm like,
right.
here you go, goodbye. You
Yeah.
know. There was one thing I did want to make sure I wanted to talk about in our time today with like that pandemic piece and the boundaries piece. And um, as people become more anxious, and they are going to become more anxious as things continue to tighten the screws on our society, that anxiety, like I've said before, anxiety can be like another person in the session. And that when anxiety is activated, it will try to force the reading in a direction that you need it not to be, right? Because when we're reading, there's an expansiveness, like we're open to all slivers of the different dimensions, whichever ones want to slot in. But then anxiety attempts to shut things down and make things like, get in there, get in there, get in there. You're safe if you're in there. And so as a reader, my recommendation to anyone like really listening to this is, do not let the client's anxiety like truly run this session.
Hmm.
But you can acknowledge the anxiety and say, I think that this granular question that you're asking and I can't answer is really coming from anxiety. Let's acknowledge that in the room. And once we can just acknowledge it, then we can kind of put it over here, and then we can continue doing what we're doing as a
Yeah.
technique. So what do you do, Nancy, in terms of
Well,
like
first of
when you
all, I do a very elaborate opening with somebody. I mean, really, I ground them, I bring them into a space, I have them see. Lately my biggest it changes from year to year or time to time, but lately it's like, is the moon and stars above your head or the sun? Which one do you need more of? Have a beam come down through the crown, fill their spine, go out through their body into the space. Oh no, I do this elaborate grounding, and not just because of the pandemic, but believe me, it's really helping with the pandemic. Is just like, no, you are spirit having a human experience. We are starting there. So we have to love the human, we have to take care of the human, we have to be in our bodies, but spirit is love, and it's greater than fear, and it's greater than death. It's greater than all, so we're going to start there. And I can tell when I'm talking and my client has their eyes closed, whether it's long distance or in person. No in person these days, but long distance. I can tell when they're tracking. I can tell when they're struggling with that. I can tell when they're like, God, I don't want to be thinking about this. I just want to ask them questions. Like I can feel the struggle, and they don't have to do what I'm saying. But me even bringing it into the room is having spirit be more powerful, that stronger presence. Like I have a friend who is an acupuncturist, and he said, if there's an organ that's really out, and for a lot of Americans, it's usually the liver because it's always angry and like, like that. And it's like the bully on the neighbor in the playground. The liver just like to beat the shit up on everyone else. So instead of like healing the liver, what you do is heal the other systems so they're stronger. And then the liver kind of finds its place. To me is anxiety. It's like, wait, if my spirit and love and beauty and magic, and if we're pretending all this, who the fuck cares if it works? If it works, who cares? What damage could that be causing? If you're allowing love to just lead you, or know that it is the power, that anxiety finds its own place sometimes. It's like she sits back a little bit, like, oh, okay, I'm not going to.
So if you were to make a recommendation for people listening, would that be the recommendation, is take clients through a kind of grounding activity at the start?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And here's a couple things. It's like, okay, I want you to, first of all, just bring them where they are. Like, always acknowledge just your body and your human. It's like, close your eyes and just be in the room you're in right now. You're not in the future. You're not in the past. You're right here, right now. What are your senses saying? What are you hearing, smelling, light sources, temperature, clothes on skin, the table? Now, and give them a few minutes. Now, go deep in like Alice down the rabbit hole, if that feels comfortable for you. And a lot of people love Alice. So Alice is beautiful because she's, Alice and the rabbit, I can do that. Go down deep inside yourself to any inner landscape you absolutely love, real or perceived. Is it forest, desert, mountain, valley? What is that? And you're standing in a big open space, and above you is either the moon and stars or the sun. You're here alone. You are in love. You are safe. And then the beam of light comes down through you and fills your crown and your spine. It goes out through your organs and your cells out into the space. And you are totally immersed in light. And from here, I want you to shuffle the cards. And some people I know are following every inch of the way. Other people are really scared, thinking they're doing it wrong. Other people are like, fuck, can we just get to the reading? It's like, that's all right. But I think with that, what you're doing is calling in spirit. Like, it is bigger than us. This work is bigger than us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking.
That was awesome.
You know what it feels like in a way? It's like a chiropractor that I go to will sometimes, she'll have a heating pads and stuff. So she'll like put that on first before she does any adjustments.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a way of like, can you prepare the spirit for this? Can you prepare your little human self to really look at the real dynamics that might be going on here? It's like, well, yeah, if we invite them into paradise, that's going to be easier.
Yeah. I do like a pre-reading kind of mini guided meditation with my clients as well.
What do you do?
Well, it depends on what they're there for. Like I come up with an off-the-cuff guided meditation that's usually somehow tied to why they're there. And then I also, I don't have clients shuffle. I don't know if you do or not. I shuffle because I have found that in the past when I've asked people to shuffle, they always say if I had a quarter every time a client said I'm terrible at shuffling, I would be a rich woman by now, I'm sure. So I want to get that thing off the table because I want them to think about what they need to think about and not about the mechanics of shuffling. So what I often do is I have them hold the deck, and then I ask them to introduce themselves to the deck. So it's really about saying hello to the deck, especially if they haven't worked with that deck before. So that's something that we'll do. I'll do a brief, like, breathing grounding exercise, and then based on why they're there, yeah, I'll just come up with a mini guided meditation. For example, one of them, oh, I have so many, I have to think about one.
So let's say oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can tell me.
So let's say I'm coming to you because, you know, I really, really want to help figure out which school my child should go to.
Oh, that's an interesting one. So I would probably begin with a guided meditation where you and your child are standing at a crossroads, and there's a road leading to every different option. And I might even invite you to tell me what you see from that guided meditation. But I always say, you know, you can either say it out loud or to yourself. What do I need to know? Like, what is the answer for me? What kind of clarity is present? And I find that that's really helpful because when people come in, their minds are very, as we all are, like our minds are very busy. So that brings them right into space with me. One of my favorite ones that I like to do is if someone, like a love question, if someone's like, I want someone in my life. So what I do, and I have a lot of fun with it, I'll be like, okay, imagine that you're at this swanky restaurant and you are dressed to the nines. Like you've got this slinky dress on, you are beautiful. And you're sitting at this fancy table. There are candles, there's roses. Maitre d's are like literally in like tuxes. And you're waiting for that person. And then as soon as you see the door swing open, you intuitively know that that person is there. But before you see them, we freeze frame that action. And then we play the rest of it out in the deck. So I do things like that.
I love, oh God, that's so brings back your whole idea. I mean, the only thing what did you say? That imagination is the only thing that prevents us? Our own imagination with tarot?
Mm-hmm.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that because I read for also, I really have an affinity for older women, you know, and well, women after their second Saturn return, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say, okay, no, you're sitting in a lush little theater. It's probably in Paris or something. Those big red velvet chairs that you can kind of like sink in, you know, and the curtains are closed, the big velvet curtains. And you know how Act 1 and Act 2 went.
Mm-hmm.
Your heroine, you know. So you as a heroine now, you're sitting there in intermission, and the curtain's going to open. What do you want to see happen to her? This is it, man. This is the finale. This is the last act. Could this be the best party?
Right.
You know,
Right.
you know, and don't be rational. Like just for this hour, could we suspend you being rational so that we can see what you fantasize about, what you desire, what you fear, where your passion is, where your curiosity is? Because that rational mind will come in and go, yes, but I have to stay at work for the next 7 years. You know, it just for an hour, could we just bend the rules and just see what you're hungry for?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what you need to eat. No, well, not all of it, but some of it. Well, darling, I think we're at the end. So I think
really, wow. Okay.
I know we've just been going at it. So let's see.
Should we like
Yeah.
pull one more card just for fun as like
Yeah, our
a
closure.
image?
Speaking of
Yeah.
boundaries, you also want your client to leave with a sense of, okay, we're ending now. This is the done. The sacred space is closing. You're going to go back into linear space, which is beautiful. There's no right or wrong here, just different dimensions. So let's just see what we have to close with. I also see my closing card as a last ditch effort of spirit saying, oh, and by the way, you didn't catch this. You know, it's like, here, you might want to mention this.
Yeah, I often will use an oracle card pull as like the final message.
Oh,
I
love that.
And what I find is that the oracle card often just wraps up everything that we've been kind of talking about. And it's just such a nice way to like close the book.
I love that.
Yeah. But I recommend for readers that even though they're purchasing an hour of your time, not a full 60 minutes of the reading. And so for me, I start wrapping up about 5 minutes till.
Absolutely.
Because we've got to lead them towards the end. Otherwise, it's very easy for that to slosh over into way more time. And if you do that times 10, you've lost a lot of time that you're not getting paid for. So.
Well, not only that, but a lot of us are not good with transitions. Like, really, if someone's massaging me, I swear to God, it's like, oh, don't just kind of lightly stop touching me. Tell me when it's going to end, because I really need to know that it's going to come to an end really soon. I just need that transition, because otherwise it's brutal. You know, so like 10 minutes before I end the reading, it's like, we're coming to the end. Mm-hmm. You know, is there anything that we can clarify? Not, is there any new question?
Mm-hmm.
No, no. Is there anything that just needs a little more clarity for you, or not a new question?
Yeah, because that last 10-minute question, if you ask it, will be like something that would take another hour. And
oh, totally.
You're like, what?
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
Okay, all right.
What you get? Oh, did you pick one?
Yeah, I did.
You go first.
Okay, so closure, I really love in the Lovers, and I really love it in this deck.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that. So for me, that's really talking about like bringing us back into presence with one another. Like, where it's just like, okay, we're here again, and we are going to, because there's like you as the reader and the client when you meet and chat, and then you're in that non-ordinary space of the reading, and then coming back where we are here to humans again.
That's right.
And I think that's a really beautiful sentiment for
gorgeous.
closing. Yeah.
Gorgeous. And in that traditional meaning of lovers as choice.
Mm-hmm.
And boundaries is, what are we choosing here? What do you feel safe? What are we choosing to see happen right now? How are we going to be, in presence of each other? It's choice. Boundaries are choosing, mindfully choosing what we are creating. Mm-hmm. I got, which I thought is really interesting, but I also love this version of this card, is the Nine of Wands.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, I need this deck. It's so cool.
I know. This 9, it's interesting with that guy that usually holds the stick, and you feel like, oh man, he got beat up, and he's either expecting to get beat up again, or he's going to hit somebody this time. But to me, is the 9 of Wands. Look at that beautiful, it's just a gate. That's all, with a door. Now, you're not walking through that gate yet, and this kind of really beautiful moon above it. Mm-hmm. So my closure is just, again, fences do make good neighbors.
Yeah.
They do. Like, we got a parameter here. Your dog can't run into my yard and shit. It's like, you gotta, ding! It helps having parameters, and boy, there was just something when you were talking about lovers too, and I just thought about boundaries. Oh, I can't, this slips. Uh, the Nine of Wands. I think one of the things I wanted to say about boundaries is, to me, Jenna, it really always does come down to love and fear for
Mhm.
me. It
Oh
really
my
always.
God. I was literally, oh, I can't believe you just said that. Like, you know how many times throughout our talk that I was going to say everything is, I don't mean to point, but everything is run off of two things, love and fear. That's it. Love and fear, love and fear. And I was just like, I couldn't find the right time to say it. And you just said it. I love it.
Good. Because if you're as a reader, if you're really not sure if it's coming, if you're not describing it in a way that is about love or in a loving way, there are times when I've gotten readings from people and it's just like, they don't really care how it's affecting me at all. They're just giving the information and going next, like that. And to me, that's when the tongue is a gun. So it's like, is it coming from a place of love? But that doesn't mean kitty litter it or censor it or take the edge off of it. It's just doing it with respect, and without charge, but also knowing this is landing on a whole human here. So take responsibility for that, is speaking from love. And if you can't speak from love, then own that and go, wow, I'm drawing a blank here. Or I have with this pandemic thing, really, when people ask me about the virus and the prediction, I'll even say, guys, this is actually scary for me. Like, I'm having a hard time just being objective and impartial with all that. So I have to
Yeah.
remind them that I'm human. This is scaring me, So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm in a place of fear, also just own that. Just own
Mm-hmm.
it. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
change that. You just need to know where you're standing. Well, we did it. We really did. Yay, girl.
Yay.
I really love, you are fiercely intelligent, but you're also just so curious about people. I could just tell that. You just really love the dynamics of people, So I just love working with you. So there you
Oh
go.
my, well, the feeling is completely mutual. Oh my God, I love your fire. I love it so much.
And I realized, look at yours is all these beautiful orange and red and the light. It's really hot. And mine is like kind of like blues and grays and whites. So I feel like I'm the winter. I'm the winter and you're the summer.
Oh, well, when you see my roots coming through, I don't know. The longer this goes on. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, really, really, our hair is a big thing, isn't it?
I know. This is like getting at it. I'm like, oh God. I know that's a terrible thing to say, but one of my clients who I love dearly said, aren't tanning beds an essential business? And I was like, oh, honey, we're all have to get our natural by the end of this.
Right.
And that might be a good thing for us.
Totally. All right, darling.
Oh,
Well,
love you. All right. And
love
for
you.
the rest, so just to close, for the rest of you, we have one more. It is going to be business. So keep a lookout for that. It will be coming out probably sooner rather than later. So just stay subscribed to Nancy's channel and you'll know when it pops up on YouTube.
Right.
All right. Any last thoughts?
Nope.
All
Namaste.
Right. Bye, guys.